Hey everybody, welcome to Regulatory Joe. I'm Joe Boyle, president of ClearFile, and today I'm excited to introduce our next topic, the current state of APTCs, also known as Advanced Premium Tax Credits. So what are APTCs? Advanced Premium Tax Credits expanded affordable eligibility for members up to 400% of FPL participating on the exchange. Subsidy eligibility of the past number of years of the ACA, that's actually expanded affordability to members who qualify with household incomes up to 500% of FPL. Generally speaking, when a member goes to select a plan for enrollment, you have to input your overall household income. Whether you're an individual, you're a member participating in a group, or you have eligible dependents such as a spouse or children of age within the state that you participate in. Based on that enrollment eligibility and that household income that you input to your application, which by the way is standardized by CMS, it could be supplemented by some state-based marketplaces, but the criteria that actually calculates or previously calculated the APTCs that a member within the certain FPL range would get has been standard. So after that member essentially would input all of this required information, you would get subsidy assistance and a range of dollars that you could actually apply to your health plan premium, regardless if it's a gold plan, silver, platinum, or bronze, or even more recently, expanded bronze. We do know that CMS had discussed even introducing net new metallic tiers, such as a branded copper metallic tier that would have a different subset of APTCs. But unfortunately, we know that's not the case. At the end of last year, the House passed an affordability package that did not extend existing subsidies. So in terms of the actual vote, as we look at the political landscape as it relates to the ACA, it was very close, a vote of 216 to 11. What does that actually tell us? That tells us that representatives in certain states across the country, regardless of if they're a federal marketplace or a state-based marketplace, are still lobbying and becoming core advocates for subsidy eligibility, specifically as it relates to APTCs. There has been a new bill introduced that would be bipartisan that could extend APTCs up to 3 years, but at this point in Q1 of 2026, carriers cannot rely on that, nor can members. So that being said, the current state of APTCs, what's happening and what are carriers doing to actually get ahead of this? Now that this assistance is being eliminated, states are looking at additional and alternative ways to fund that financial assistance gap. So there's a couple limited options that states can look at. Some of the unfavorable ones would result in increasing taxes for the members that live in that state. For states that already have seemingly high taxes, that could have alternate impacts, not just on the healthcare industry, but other priorities for that state government. Keeping in mind that states have a lot of priorities. They have to work with the Department of Transportation alongside the Department of Health and Life, and not even talking about property casualty and other items that regulators have to deal with, especially when restricted by a budget, and a budget season that has more constraints going into 2027 than it ever did before. So with the limited options that are posed for both carriers and states at this time in planning for the 2027 plan year in terms of strategic approach to building your portfolio, refreshing your cost shares and copays, is really taking a hard look and being prepared to, as much as we want to be proactive, essentially having to be reactive to state and legislative response. As a result of APTCs, the bipartisan bill, and other legislative activities that's wrapping around additional legislative materials that wrap around APTCs is also the Notice of Benefit Payment Parameters, the NBPP, which as we just heard has gone to OMB, which we know that at this time can expect a timeline to receive this federal document in about mid-February. We do know that this document will help dictate on the federal level high-level cost shares and copays, deductible limits, maximum out-of-pocket limits, and actuarial value limits, which will drive that publication of the calculator from CMS. In all prior years of the ACA have been used to actually calculate APTCs when finalizing rates and when you're premium setting with your rate actuaries. So again, take those models that you've created last year, you can use those to your advantage. But then again, being prepared and having a work group to be reactive when the NBPP is released as it relates to the changes with APTC will be very important. And furthermore, as we wait additional federal guidance, we would expect that on a state level, legislators will, if not have already started, to create state-level guidance to wrap around their anticipated changes of the NBPP. We have heard states, especially ones who've attended the standing NAIC meetings, contribute to what their needs are for plan year 2027, what they need from CMS. whether it's budget constraints, staffing constraints, review constraints, even down to embedding artificial intelligence and streamlining operations using technology in state government to help with the review process. Both CMS and states can acknowledge that it will be a year of change, but getting ahead of that now and having that conversation will be critically important. So making sure this is not just, looked at as a purely financial change as it relates to the financial assistance, but an operational change within state government as well as a carrier. So making sure you have those processes in place, they're all going to change. Get a hold of your stakeholders, set up your matrices, and really set timelines in reverse of when your filings are due, because things will come to a head. We don't want our carriers submitting at the 11th hour. Now, it's really interesting because when we start the conversation about what issuers and health plans will feel first with the elimination of APTCs for year one in the first year, is when you put our operations on a timeline right now, actuaries and anybody who's supporting the premium rate setting process for a plan likely, if not has already confirmed your pro forma membership projections. That actually means that looking at your final membership ending in calendar year 2025 against your projected membership in calendar year 2026, which would reflect essentially your plan year 27 filings. And I know that may sound like many layers and it can be a little bit confusing, but really understanding how you're projecting your membership and what the impact of APTCs could have on that pool will impact how your risk scores are calculated. It will impact how your quality team and your stars ratings are calculated with a year of substantial change. So whether you have an in-house utilization and care management team of medical doctors and coders that are actually setting measurable targets for state QIS or quality improvement plan strategies, we recommend that should be a top-tier strategy item that you actually look at for substantial change this year. APTCs, I think, far too often gets looked at as just dollars and cents as it relates to a plan. But really, when you look at your overall product presence in the marketplace and your brand, are members essentially buying your product based on price? Are you the lowest cost carrier in the marketplace? Yes or no? Because what we've seen in some well-established markets, we could have a carrier that's lowest cost. Members will still, based on their behavior, buy a higher cost medical plan based on brand recognition because they trust that brand. They trust the title, whether it's a hospital-owned plan or known throughout the country, or based on the providers that they trust and known for years. So when you think about APTCs and being lowest cost carrier, think about where the member is actually at within that demographic in your population health data. Using your population health data team, understanding which members essentially fall within the federal poverty level in your risk pool. So that's 0 to 400 and 400 plus up to 500%. Essentially, you should be able, based on which database you have, is to run those demographics to understand gender, age, if these members are individuals or if they're part of groups and have dependents, and understanding what care that they need. If you have a high attendance rate of people going to see their PCPs or specialists, maybe take a look at those benefits and see if you can make those richer or leaner as it relates to how APTCs save that individual money. Now, again, everything we're talking about right now takes time and speed to market. We are seeing some issuers having a neutral strategy approach for this year while not making any changes, while absorbing what could be looked at as a financial burden, while being able to plan for next year, because simply there could be no time to execute a plan in a good way. So take a look at additional impacts we advise outside of financials. Include your operations teams in these discussions, and most importantly, your filers, because we can make projections all day long, but if you don't have a fileable product, then there's really nothing to be approved. So always be mindful. We like to over-communicate here at ClearFile, so it's definitely worked to our advantage. A couple other things that we recommend taking advantage of, especially getting into Q2 of this year, is CMS has introduced the new series and season of RegTap CMS QHP webinars, where APTCs, risk adjustment, broker readiness, enrollment, and so on will be key topics that will be presented by federal regulators and state regulators throughout this year. So I recommend getting a seat at those meetings. Some carriers have actually already been waitlisted. At least dedicate one single point of contact to your organization to bring those calls together. In addition to those meetings, we also recommend obviously relying on your states to advocate for you, but utilizing your health plan associations will be critically important. So they have resources available to you. That's why carriers pay for the memberships, to have access to advocates that actually can conjoin voices within one state, whether you're a state-based marketplace or federal exchange, where every carrier participating within that exchange marketplace can comment, have a voice, and have a little bit more strength when actually formulating a position with CMS and with other regulators. So take advantage of your states, and if you're a smaller carrier, a regional provider-owned plan, even if you don't have access or don't have a membership to these associations, yet we recommend investing in them. They definitely pay back an ROI hand over foot. So those are some additional things we encourage issuers and organizations to take advantage of. Thanks everybody for listening in. Give us a like, give us a share, and we'll see y'all next time.